Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where we uncover the hidden fortunes that might be sitting right in your change jar. Today, we're diving deep into the story of one of America's most iconic and beloved coins, the United States of America Lincoln Wheat Penny from 1940. This tiny copper piece, often overlooked and forgotten, holds a rich history and, for some lucky collectors, an astonishing value that will blow your mind. Stay tuned until the very end because you'll find out how one of these simple pennies could be worth an unbelievable $125,000 today. Let's start with a little history behind this famous penny. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. It was the first American coin to feature the portrait of a real person, a groundbreaking design choice for its time. The image of Lincoln was created by Victor David Brenner, whose initials, VDB, can be seen on some of the earliest versions of the coin. This design remained in circulation until 1958, making the wheat penny one of the most collected and admired coins in U.S. history. Now, the 1940 Lincoln Wheat Penny comes from a fascinating period in American history. The United States was recovering from the Great Depression, and the world was on the brink of World War II. The economy was rebuilding, industries were growing, and pennies like the 1940 wheat cent were used daily across the nation. Millions of these coins were produced at three mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a small d; and San Francisco, marked with an S. Despite their abundance, not all 1940 pennies are created equal. Some hold incredible value because of their rarity, minting errors, or pristine condition. The composition of the 1940 wheat penny is mostly copper, about 95%, with a small mix of tin and zinc. This gives the coin its rich reddish-brown color that collectors love. Over time, the copper reacts with the environment, causing most pennies to darken or show signs of wear. That's why finding one in mint state condition, with that original bright copper-red shine, is exceptionally rare. These top-grade examples are the ones that make collectors' hearts race and can sell for thousands, even tens of thousands, at auction. Let's talk about the design that makes this penny so recognizable and beloved. On the front, or obverse, of the coin, you'll see the proud profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust," serve as a timeless reminder of faith and national unity. To the left is the word "Liberty," and on the right, the date, 1940. Depending on where it was minted, you might also see a small letter below the date, a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. On the reverse side, the design features two elegant wheat ears curving inward from each side, surrounding the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. At the top sits the motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. These two wheat stalks give the coin its nickname, the Wheat Penny. The simple yet powerful design reflects America's values of unity, strength, and growth, making it one of the most iconic coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint. Now, what makes some 1940 Lincoln Wheat Pennies so valuable? It all comes down to rarity, errors, and condition. Millions of these coins were struck, but only a tiny fraction remain in perfect, uncirculated condition. Coins graded MS-65 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC are worth serious money. The brighter the luster, the sharper the details, and the fewer the scratches, the higher the value climbs. But here's where it gets even more exciting: minting errors. Some 1940 pennies were struck with off-center designs, double die errors, or even planchet flaws, and these mistakes can skyrocket the coin's value. For example, a double die penny shows a faint but visible doubling of letters or numbers, often around the date or the word "Liberty." These errors make each coin unique and highly desirable to collectors who are always hunting for one-of-a-kind pieces. Another factor that boosts value is the mint mark. Among the three mints, coins from San Francisco with the S mark often attract higher interest due to lower mintage numbers. And if you happen to find a 1940 S penny in pristine, uncirculated condition with a deep red luster, you're holding a small treasure. Collectors also value color and surface quality. Lincoln Wheat Pennies are graded by color as red, RD, red-brown, RB, or brown, BN. A bright, fully red coin indicates it has been well preserved and not exposed to the elements. These are the ones that fetch the highest prices at auctions. Now imagine this, somewhere in an old jar, tucked away in a forgotten drawer or inherited from your grandparents, there might be a single 1940 wheat penny that could change your life. Most people wouldn't give it a second look, but if it's in mint condition, or has one of those rare minting errors, it could be worth far more than just 1 cent. So, how much can one of these coins actually be worth? Well, a regular 1940 wheat penny in circulated condition might only fetch a few cents to a few dollars, depending on its wear and mint mark. But if you have a gem-quality example, graded near perfect and with that original copper red shine, you're looking at serious money. And if it happens to have a rare error or special variation, collectors could pay enormous sums to add it to their collections. Over the years, top-graded 1940 Lincoln wheat pennies have made headlines at auctions. These aren't just coins, they're pieces of American history, perfectly preserved through time. Some have sold for jaw-dropping amounts, turning ordinary pocket change into extraordinary wealth, and now, the moment you've been waiting for. A flawless, uncirculated 1940 Lincoln wheat penny with exceptional color, strong strike, and no visible flaws can reach an unbelievable value of $125,000. Yes, you heard that right, $125,000 for a single penny. Imagine holding something that small in your hand and realizing it's worth more than a luxury car or even a house. That's the magic of coin collecting, hidden value in the most unexpected places. So before you spend that old penny or toss it aside, take a closer look. You might be holding a valuable piece of history that could change your fortune. Check for that 1940 date, inspect the mint mark, and look for any unusual features or errors. You never know, your ordinary penny could be an extraordinary treasure. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln wheat penny from 1941, a coin that holds history, artistry, and mystery all in one. Most people think of the penny as just a simple copper coin, but what if I told you that one of these little pieces of metal could be worth more than $112,000 today? That's right, by the end of this video, you'll find out exactly how this humble 1941 penny could turn into an astonishing payday. Let's begin our journey by going back to the year 1941, a time when the world was on edge and America stood at the doorstep of World War II. The country was emerging from the Great Depression, factories were buzzing again, and patriotism filled the air. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of coins to keep up with a growing economy, and among them was the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, a small but powerful symbol of America's resilience and unity. The Lincoln wheat penny series had already been in circulation for over 3 decades by this time. Introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it became an instant classic, admired for its elegant simplicity and patriotic spirit. By 1941, it had become one of the most recognized coins in American history, used by millions of citizens every single day. Now, let's talk about how the 1941 penny was made. The coin's composition was mostly copper, around 95%, mixed with a small amount of tin and zinc. This gives it that warm, reddish-brown glow that collectors love. The obverse side of the coin displays the proud profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, surrounded by the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty," on the left, and the date, 1941, on the right. Depending on where the coin was minted, you may also see a small letter under the date, D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. If there's no letter, that means it came from the main mint in Philadelphia. Now flip the coin over and you'll see one of the most classic designs in U.S. coinage history. The reverse side shows 2 gracefully curved wheat stalks surrounding the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. Above them are the Latin words, E pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. Those twin wheat ears are why collectors lovingly call it the wheat penny. Simple, strong, and symbolic, it's a design that stands the test of time. But what really sets the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny apart isn't just its beautiful design, it's the history, rarity, and the small details that make some of these coins incredibly valuable. Although over a billion 1941 pennies were struck across the 3 U.S. mints, only a fraction of them survived in pristine, mint state condition. Over decades of circulation, most were worn, scratched, or corroded. But the few that escaped into private collections, stored carefully and preserved with their original copper-red shine, have become true treasures for collectors. Collectors use professional grading scales to evaluate these coins, with the best examples earning a grade of MS 65, MS 66, or even higher from grading services like PCGS or NGC. These grades indicate a flawless, uncirculated condition, and that's where the real value lies. A coin that shines like the day it was minted can bring an enormous price tag at auction. Now, what makes the 1941 penny even more exciting are the rare minting errors and variations that occurred during production. You see, in the early 1940s, minting technology wasn't as perfect as it is today. That means small mistakes occasionally happened, and those mistakes make some coins worth a fortune. One of the most famous types of errors is the doubled die. This happens when the coin die, the metal stamp used to strike the design, shifts slightly between strikes, creating a faint but visible doubling on letters or numbers. A 1941 penny with this kind of doubling can be incredibly valuable. Another type of mint error collectors search for is the off-center strike, where part of the design appears slightly cut off or misaligned. There are also die cracks, where small raised lines appear across the coin, or planchet errors, where the metal blank used to make the coin wasn't perfectly formed. Each of these unique flaws makes a coin one of a kind, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for these rare finds. Beyond errors, the mint mark also affects value. The 1941 S penny from San Francisco generally commands more attention due to its lower mintage numbers compared to the Philadelphia and Denver issues. A well-preserved 1941 S with sharp details and rich color can be worth many times more than its face value. Speaking of color, collectors classify Lincoln Wheat pennies based on their copper tone: red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN. A bright, full red coin means it has retained its original copper brilliance and hasn't been exposed to oxidation. These are the holy grail for collectors. Coins with a red designation almost always sell for the highest prices. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in an old coin jar, a dusty attic, or a forgotten family collection, there might be a single 1941 penny waiting to be discovered. Maybe it has that perfect shine, no scratches, no wear, and a deep red tone. Maybe it's an error coin with a fascinating doubled image. And maybe, just maybe, that penny could be the key to a life-changing discovery. Many coin collectors have found incredible success by identifying rare 1941 Lincoln Wheat pennies that others ignored. Auction records show examples selling for eye-popping prices, especially those in near-perfect grades. Some of these coins have changed hands for sums that would make anyone stop and take notice, and now, here's the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. If you happen to own a 1941 Lincoln Wheat penny that is uncirculated, perfectly preserved, or features a rare minting error, its value could reach an astonishing $112,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $112,000 for a single 1-cent coin. Imagine finding something so small that carries such enormous worth. That's what makes coin collecting so thrilling, the idea that history, art, and chance can come together to create hidden treasures worth more than gold. So, before you toss that old penny aside or spend it without a second thought, take a closer look. Check the date, 1941. Look for the mint mark under the year. Inspect it under a good light for any doubling, cracks, or off-center strikes. You never know what you might find the next time you open a jar of old change, or sift through a coin collection that's been in your family for years. Pay attention, because one of those little copper coins could hold a story worth telling and a value worth a fortune. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat penny from 1952. This tiny copper coin might look like ordinary change, but behind its humble design lies an incredible story of craftsmanship, history, and value. By the end of this video, you'll find out how this single penny could be worth an astonishing $87,000 today. So sit back, grab your magnifying glass, and let's uncover the mystery behind the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny. The story of the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny begins in the heart of the post-war era, a time when America was booming with optimism and rebuilding its future. The year 1952 was a turning point for the nation. Industries were growing, families were thriving, and the U.S. Mint was hard at work producing coins that symbolized prosperity and progress. Among those coins was the Lincoln Wheat Penny, one of the longest-running and most beloved designs in American coinage history. The Lincoln cent had already been circulating for over 40 years by the time 1952 came around. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person. Designed by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner, the coin quickly became a favorite among Americans. His design captured Lincoln's noble and enduring spirit, a reminder of honesty, courage, and unity during a time of great national growth. Now, let's take a closer look at the 1952 penny itself. Like its predecessors, the coin was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighed about 3.11 grams and measured 19 millimeters in diameter. On the front, or obverse, you'll find the proud image of President Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head are the famous words, "In God we trust." To the left of his portrait is the word "Liberty," and to the right, the year 1952. Depending on where your coin was minted, you may notice a tiny letter under the date, D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. If there's no letter, that means it came from the main mint in Philadelphia. When you flip the coin over, you'll see one of the most classic designs in American history, two graceful wheat stalks curving up along each side of the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. Above those inscriptions sits the Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, which translates to, out of many, one. This simple but powerful design is what earned the coin its popular nickname, the Wheat Penny. It represents unity, growth, and the strength of the American spirit, values that remain timeless. Now, at first glance, the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny may seem common. After all, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of them that year. But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1952 pennies are created equal. Some of them possess rare qualities, minting errors, or extraordinary preservation that make them incredibly valuable to collectors. To understand what makes these coins worth so much, you need to know about three key factors: condition, rarity, and error varieties. Let's start with condition. Over time, most pennies from 1952 were heavily circulated, passed from hand to hand, stored in jars, and spent countless times. This constant use caused most of them to become scratched, dull, or worn. However, a small number were carefully saved from circulation in pristine, mint-state condition. These coins, which still have their original luster and shine, are the ones collectors prize the most. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with MS standing for mint state. A coin graded MS 65 or higher means it's nearly flawless, with sharp details, full color, and almost no imperfections. And when a 1952 wheat penny reaches this level of quality, its value can skyrocket far beyond its face value. Next, let's talk about rarity and mint marks. The 1952 penny was produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia mint made the most, while San Francisco had the lowest mintage that year. As a result, coins bearing the S mint mark, the 1952 S wheat pennies, are often more sought after by collectors, especially in uncirculated condition. The 1952 D pennies from Denver are also popular, especially if they exhibit strong strikes and beautiful reddish luster. But perhaps the most exciting aspect of all is the existence of minting errors, unique imperfections that occurred during production. These are the true gems in the world of coin collecting. Among the rarest types of errors are double die obverse, off-center strikes, and repunched mint marks. A double die occurs when the coin's design is struck twice but slightly misaligned, causing a doubling effect that's visible in the date, letters, or even Lincoln's profile. These coins are incredibly rare and can be worth thousands of dollars. Another type of error is the off-center strike, which happens when the coin blank isn't properly aligned in the press, causing part of the design to appear missing or shifted. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin. Then there are repunched mint marks, RPM, a fascinating type of error that happens when the mint mark was punched into the die more than once, often slightly off from the first impression. If you find a 1952 D or 1952 S penny with visible overlapping mint marks, that's a major collector's item. Collectors also care deeply about the coin's color. Because copper reacts with air and moisture, its surface changes over time. That's why Lincoln Wheat Pennies are classified into three color categories: red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN. Coins that retain their original, bright red copper tone are the most desirable and valuable, as they indicate the coin has been perfectly preserved for decades. Imagine this: somewhere in an old coffee tin, a forgotten drawer, or a dusty attic box, there could be a brilliant 1952 wheat penny waiting to be rediscovered. Maybe it's been sitting there for 70 years, untouched, shining just as it did the day it left the mint. Or perhaps it has a rare error that no one ever noticed. That single penny, something most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground, could be a hidden fortune. Now, here's something every coin collector knows: the value of a penny depends on the smallest details. A tiny scratch, a hint of discoloration, or a slight imperfection can mean the difference between a coin worth a few cents and one worth thousands. That's why serious collectors handle these coins with gloves, store them in protective cases, and rely on grading professionals to determine authenticity and quality. Over the years, many 1952 Lincoln Wheat Pennies in exceptional condition have been auctioned for jaw-dropping amounts. These aren't just coins, they're miniature pieces of American history, frozen in time. Each one tells a story of craftsmanship, survival, and the incredible journey from pocket change to prized collectible. And now comes the part you've been waiting for: the value reveal. If you are lucky enough to own a 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny that has survived in immaculate, uncirculated condition, or one with a rare minting error or perfect red color, its value can reach an astonishing $87,000. Yes, you heard that right, $87,000 for a single 1-cent coin. It's hard to believe that something so small, so ordinary, could be worth that much, but that's the thrill of coin collecting. It reminds us that history often hides in the most unexpected places, waiting to reward those who take the time to look closer. So before you spend that old penny or toss it aside, take a second to check the date: 1952. Look for the mint mark, examine its shine, and pay attention to any unusual markings. That small copper coin in your collection, or even one you find in your change, might be worth a small fortune. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and valuable pieces of American history: the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from 1953. This small copper coin, often overlooked as just another penny, has become a true legend among collectors. It holds more than 70 years of history, artistry, and hidden worth. And believe it or not, one of these tiny treasures could be worth an unbelievable $79,000 today. Let's go back in time to understand how this coin came to be. The year was 1953, a time of post-war prosperity, booming industries, and renewed hope across the United States. America was in the midst of an economic revival. Families were buying homes, cars, and televisions, and coins like the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny were being used in everyday life, in stores, gas stations, and diners. People spent them without a second thought, never imagining that decades later, some of these same coins would become highly sought-after collectibles worth tens of thousands of dollars. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series had already been in circulation for over 40 years by 1953. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it became one of the most iconic coins ever minted. The design captured Lincoln's calm strength and moral integrity, a fitting tribute to the man who led America through its greatest trial, the Civil War. Now, let's take a closer look at the design of the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. On the front, or obverse side, you'll see the timeless profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above him are the words, "In God We Trust," to his left, the word "Liberty," and to his right, the date, 1953. Just below the date, you might notice a small mint mark, either a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or none at all if it was minted in Philadelphia. Each mint had its own production run that year, and that small letter can make a huge difference in a coin's rarity and value. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the classic reverse design that gives this penny its famous nickname, the Wheat Penny. Two curved wheat stalks rise from the sides, framing the words, 1 cent and United States of America. At the top, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, proudly declares, out of many, one. This simple, elegant design represents unity, growth, and abundance, values deeply tied to the American spirit during the 1950s. The 1953 wheat penny was struck in copper, about 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that beautiful reddish tone collectors love. But over time, as these coins circulated, they darkened, scratched, and lost their luster. Finding one in perfect, uncirculated condition today is like finding a needle in a haystack. That's exactly why some of them have become incredibly valuable. Now, let's talk about why the 1953 penny is such a big deal for collectors. It's not just about age, it's about rarity, condition, and in some cases, unique minting errors that make each coin a one-of-a-kind discovery. Even though millions of these pennies were minted, only a small fraction have survived in pristine, original condition. Most were used, handled, and worn down in everyday life, but the rare few that were saved and preserved perfectly have become treasures in the numismatic world. The U.S. Mint produced the 1953 wheat penny at 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia mint coins bear no mint mark, the Denver coins have a small D, and the San Francisco coins have an S. Generally, coins from the San Francisco mint are scarcer, especially in uncirculated grades, and those examples can fetch very high prices. But regardless of the mint, what truly drives the value of a 1953 penny is its condition. Coin grading is a critical part of determining a coin's worth. Professionals grade coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with mint state, MS, coins ranking from MS 60 to MS 70. The higher the number, the more flawless and brilliant the coin. A 1953 Lincoln wheat penny graded MS 65 or higher can sell for thousands of dollars, and if it's graded MS 67 or MS 68 with a vivid red shine, that's when you start seeing those jaw-dropping auction prices. Now let's move on to something every collector dreams about: minting errors and varieties. Errors happen during the coin's production, and while the U.S. Mint tries to avoid them, they occasionally slip through the cracks. These accidental imperfections can make a coin incredibly valuable. Some of the most exciting 1953 Lincoln wheat penny errors include double dies, where the letters or numbers appear to be stamped twice, creating a shadow effect that's visible to the naked eye. Another common variety is the off-center strike, where part of the design is missing because the blank metal disc wasn't properly aligned during minting. There are also repunched mint marks, RPMs, where the small letter below the date was punched more than once, resulting in a slightly overlapping appearance. Each of these errors tells a story about how the coin was made, and collectors love them because no two are exactly alike. The color and surface of the coin also play a big role in its value. Because copper reacts over time, pennies are classified by color: red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN. A coin that retains its original red shine from 1953, as if it were just minted yesterday, is considered the most desirable and can sell for the highest price. Coins that have darkened or taken on a brown tone are still valuable, but the vivid red examples command the spotlight in the collector's market. Imagine this: you're cleaning out an old box of coins inherited from your grandparents, and at the bottom, you find a shiny 1953 penny. You look closer and realize it's got a small S mint mark, perfect details, and that gorgeous red glow. You hold it up to the light and notice it's practically flawless. What would you do? For most people, it's just a penny, but for a coin collector, that could be a once-in-a-lifetime find worth more than they ever imagined. Every coin tells a story, and the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a story of resilience, history, and hidden value. It's a reminder that even the smallest things can hold great importance. From the hands of factory workers and farmers in the 1950s to modern collectors today, this coin has traveled through generations, silently carrying the legacy of America's past. Over the decades, collectors have paid astonishing prices for top-quality examples of this penny. Auctions have seen flawless 1953 wheat pennies, especially those with rare errors or exceptional color, selling for unbelievable sums. These coins are not only pieces of currency but pieces of art, history, and pride for anyone lucky enough to own one. Now comes the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. If you happen to have a 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny in perfect uncirculated condition, with rich red luster and no marks or scratches, or even better, one with a rare minting error, it could be worth an extraordinary $79,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $79,000 for a single penny. That's the incredible world of coin collecting, where tiny details can transform ordinary coins into treasures worth more than gold. So before you spend that old penny or let it slip through your fingers, take a closer look. Check the date, 1953, and inspect the mint mark. Look for doubling, off-center designs, or an unusually bright copper-red surface. Because that small coin in your collection could be far more valuable than you ever imagined. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from 1956. This humble little coin might look ordinary at first glance, but it hides a world of history, artistry, and unbelievable value. In fact, some of these tiny copper coins have sold for as much as $70,000. Yes, that's right, $70,000 for a single penny. But before we reveal how and why, let's explore everything that makes the 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny such a captivating treasure. To truly understand the significance of this coin, we need to travel back in time to 1956, a year that marked the heart of America's post-war prosperity. The 1950s were a golden era of growth and optimism. The United States was booming economically, Elvis Presley was topping the charts, families were moving into brand new suburban homes, and kids were riding shiny bicycles through quiet neighborhoods. Life was good, and in pockets all across the country jingled coins that today are part of numismatic history, including the 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny. The Lincoln cent had already been circulating for nearly 5 decades by this time. Originally introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature an actual person. Designed by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner, the penny instantly became one of the most iconic coins in American history. By 1956, the coin's design had already become a beloved part of everyday American life, a timeless tribute to one of the nation's greatest presidents. Let's take a closer look at the design that makes the Lincoln Wheat Penny so classic and recognizable. On the front, or obverse, we see the familiar and dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln, gazing right. His calm and wise expression represents unity and leadership, qualities that defined his legacy. Above Lincoln's head are the words, "In God We Trust," to his left is "Liberty," and on the right, you'll see the date, 1956. Just below the date, depending on where your coin was minted, you might notice a small letter, D, representing the Denver Mint, or no mint mark at all if it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Now flip the coin over, and you'll find the design that gives it the name, Wheat Penny. 2 elegantly curved wheat stalks frame the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. These wheat ears were chosen as a symbol of growth, prosperity, and America's agricultural strength. Above the design, the Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, proudly reads, out of many, one. It's a reminder of unity and the coming together of the nation, an idea that still resonates deeply with collectors today. The 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck in 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a metal composition that gives it its rich reddish-brown glow. By 1956, the U.S. Mint was producing millions of these coins to support the growing economy. In fact, the Denver Mint alone struck over 1 billion wheat pennies that year, one of the largest mintages in the series. So, if there were so many made, what makes the 1956 penny so valuable? The answer lies in its condition, rarity of minting errors, and I appeal. Let's start with condition, one of the most critical factors in coin collecting. Most 1956 pennies went through the normal wear and tear of circulation. They were used daily for buying candy, newspapers, coffee, and groceries, and as a result, many became scratched, discolored, and worn. But those few coins that were never spent, the ones that remained untouched, shiny, and perfectly preserved, are the ones that have become incredibly valuable today. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition can be worth a fortune. Coin grading plays a vital role in determining just how valuable a coin really is. Professional coin graders evaluate coins based on their luster, sharpness, and preservation, using a scale from 1 to 70. Coins in the highest grades, especially those with bright red color and no visible marks, are the true stars. A 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny that grades mint state 67 or higher, particularly one with a full red shine, can command an astounding price at auction, but the 1956 penny story gets even more fascinating when you consider the rare minting errors that make certain examples unique. During the minting process, mistakes sometimes happen, and collectors love those mistakes because they turn a regular coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible point. One of the most famous varieties of the 1956 Wheat Penny is the 1956 D double die, where parts of the design, usually the date or lettering, appear to have been stamped twice. When viewed under magnification, the doubling effect becomes clear and mesmerizing. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin's image was not properly aligned, leaving part of the design missing. Some coins even show repunched mint marks, where the letter D was punched into the coin more than once, creating a subtle overlapping effect. These minting oddities make each coin unique and highly desirable among collectors who chase these imperfections like hidden treasure. Now, let's talk about color, a surprisingly important factor in a coin's value. Copper coins naturally change color over time. Experts classify them into three categories: red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN. A red coin retains its original fiery copper glow, looking almost brand new. Those are the most prized and fetch the highest prices. Red-brown coins have a mix of shine and toning, while brown coins have fully darkened over time. So if you happen to find a 1956 penny that still has that bright red shimmer, don't take it lightly. It could be worth a lot more than you think. Imagine finding an old coin jar at your grandparents' house. You start sorting through it, most are just ordinary pennies. But then you spot one with a bold 1956 date, and under a light, you notice its sharp details and gleaming red tone. You look closer, maybe even pull out a magnifying glass, and there it is, a tiny doubling on the numbers or letters, or perhaps a small mint mark error. Suddenly, your heart starts to race because you realize this isn't just pocket change anymore, it's a treasure that could be worth thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars. What makes coins like this so fascinating is the story they carry. Every 1956 Wheat Penny is a tiny time capsule, a piece of America's mid-century history. It has traveled through hands, pockets, and generations, surviving decades of change. From the booming post-war economy to the rock and roll era, these coins have seen it all. Each one is a tangible connection to the past, and for collectors, that's priceless. Some collectors specialize specifically in wheat pennies, building entire sets year by year. For them, the 1956 penny represents one of the last chapters in the wheat penny era, which ended just 2 years later in 1958. After that, the reverse design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial, marking the end of an era for coin design. That makes the 1956 Wheat Penny even more nostalgic, one of the last true classics before the design changed forever. Over the years, many examples of the 1956 Wheat Penny have gone under the hammer at major auctions, and collectors have paid eye-popping prices for the best specimens. Coins with high mint state grades and full red luster have commanded incredible attention, especially those that feature rare doubling or striking errors. These are the coins that make numismatists' hearts race, the kind that can turn a tiny copper piece into a life-changing discovery. So now, after exploring its history, design, and unique features, it's time for the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. If you're lucky enough to own a 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny in perfect, uncirculated, mint red condition, or one with an extraordinary minting error that sets it apart from the rest, your coin could be worth an astonishing $70,000. That's right, $70,000 for a single 1-cent coin. It's incredible to think that something so small and common could carry such hidden wealth. That's the magic of coin collecting, turning history, art, and rarity into real value. So, the next time you're sorting through an old jar of coins or checking your pocket change, pay close attention. You never know when you might find a 1956 wheat penny with that special sparkle, that hidden error, or that perfect condition that transforms it from just another penny into a treasure worth more than most people ever imagine. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into one of America's most fascinating coins, the 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny. If you enjoyed learning about this rare and valuable coin, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next exploration into the world of hidden treasures. Remember, your next coin could be the one that changes everything. Keep searching, keep collecting, and always stay curious, because the next incredible discovery could be sitting right in your hands.